to ShareTreck. It is Saturday, 11th of December 2021, and I'm sorry I couldn't record the Friday segment, but I'm feeling great today about the weekend, and I thought I'll do a segment on CRISPR Therapeutics. And the way I'm approaching this segment is that having seen so much of fall in the market, so much of bad news, especially for CRISPR stocks, I thought from a psychological point of view for myself, it would be a good opportunity to look at all the good things that have happened so far, reassess the risks, and look at what is down the line for CRISPR. And that way, kind of rationalize the current situation. It's more of a psychological trick for me, and that's how I get through most of the tough times when I'm holding shares which are not doing too well, but still have a promise. So that's what I'm going to do with CRISPR Therapeutics. And having said that, as usual, these are my personal opinions and not financial advice. So please do your own due diligence and consult your financial planner before making any investment in shares. So having said that, let's get started. So let's start with the good news first, okay? None of these things that I'm discussing is any breaking news or anything. These are all things that we already know, but I want to consolidate them in this context of getting a good idea of how we are doing with CRISPR in the current market environment and what is ahead. So the first good news is that the CRISPR Therapeutics is still #1 among peers. Okay, they are ahead of the curve when it comes to all other companies. They have reached their targeted enrollment numbers for clinical trials testing for CTX001. What that means is that at least they won't have any delays because they didn't have the requisite number of test subjects. So that's a good thing. And the FDA has granted them the RMAT designation for CTX110, ensuring rapid development. Now what RMAT does is that it allows the FDA to work much more closely with CRISPR Therapeutics in order to catalyze or speed up the development of CTX110. So that's a really, really good advantage for CRISPR because the might of FDA is behind it. Next is that they received approval from Health Canada for VCTX210 product for type 1 diabetes. So those trials are going on, and which again is going to show that we are much closer to monetization in case of CRISPR Therapeutics than probably anybody else. So even though CRISPR Therapeutics is a high risk stock, but with the heavy pullback to $74 now, as compared to where it was in January, that was around $250. So $250 is really high, right? So it's almost 4 times as high as what it is right now. So $250, right? So considering that, it is pretty cheap, and in my opinion, it makes an attractive entry point into this stock. So continuing the good news, CRISPR Therapeutics has 9 candidates in various stages of development or testing, and these are for a wide range of disease areas. Okay, so even if one of these 9 becomes successful and gets into market, there is plenty of revenue to be made, right? And now if we look at the kind of cash flow that CRISPR has got, the balance sheet has got a lot of money. So typically most companies, when they have a whole lot of money in their balance sheet, either give it back to the shareholders as special dividends, or they invest the money in some new venture, takeover or buyback shares, do those kind of things. But when it comes to CRISPR, which is in a pioneering field, and it is yet to make any revenue, and it's got to invest a lot of money in R&D, go through regulations until it can monetize its discoveries. The fact that CRISPR has funding to last at least 3 more years means that they don't have to cut corners in their research. They can recruit top talent and deploy them into these projects. They would not have to raise funding and issue a new round of equity. I hope they wouldn't do that, because there doesn't seem to be any reason, given that they have so much funds in hand. So for us, from the point of view of being an investor, the fact that they will not dilute the equity capital means that any drop in the share value is purely because of market action and risk risk visualization of the market, rather than because the company has fundamentally diluted the value of the shares. So this, in my opinion, is a really, really good positive point for CRISPR for us as investors. Various market research companies have been trying to size the global market for CRISPR products. And when I say CRISPR products, I'm talking in general about products that are made using CRISPR technology, not just CRISPR Therapeutics, but all the competitors, everybody included. The global market size seems to be around 15.79 billion by 2027, according to Emergent Research. And according to another research company, Market Insights, they have released estimates of 18.1 billion by 2027. So most of these companies are around the same ballpark, between 15 to 18 billion dollars by 2027. And right now we are on 2021. So in 6 years, we are going to see that kind of a market realization potentially. So in light of all the above, I would come back to my earlier point that $74 makes an attractive entry point with dollar cost averaging, right? And I hope and pray that the support line that we have right now, which sustained us on Friday, will continue to do so on Monday, and we only go up. But hope and prayers can only go so far. So let us see what happens. Now, for the bad news. Fed Chairman Powell had recently given a talk. And very recently he said that he wants to drop the word transitory before inflation. Like earlier he used to call inflation to be transitory, and that gave market a lot of heart that there won't be a tightening of finances, and that the tapering won't be hastened, and that interest rate hikes won't be aggressive. But now Powell has said that he's going to drop the word transitory, and he fears that the inflation is a strong threat. As a result, he has alluded to faster tapering and more aggressive interest rate hikes. So I'm going to play a small clip before we go further in this segment. So just hold on.
Fed Chair Jay Powell will say in testimony before the Senate that the recent rise in COVID cases and the Omicron variant pose downside risks both to economic growth and to employment. He'll also say the new variant increases uncertainty about inflation. And a comment that sounds a little hawkish relative to this new virus and virus concerns. He says greater concerns about the virus could reduce people's willingness to work in person, which would slow progress in the labor market and intensify supply chain disruptions. It means he thinks it could be potentially more inflationary. Goes on to say the Fed will use its tools, by the way, to support the economy and the labor market and prevent higher inflation from becoming entrenched. Inflation, he says, is running well above our 2% longer run goal, and the factors pushing inflation will linger well into next year. Among those factors, labor slack, he says, is diminishing and wages are rising at a brisk pace, a potential sign of concern for the Fed chairman from that area. Supply and demand imbalances, he says, have contributed to the notable price increases, and he does expect inflation to move down significantly over the next year.
So as you saw in the previous video, the market kind of got spooked. So when the market gets spooked, bad things happen, right? So the next thing is that there was muddled communication on vaccine effectiveness on Omicron variant. So we had the CEO of a big pharma company which manufactures vaccine come out and say that he's not very sure that his vaccine can handle Omicron. And then they backtracked on that. And then some other body did research on 12 samples, and they said that Omicron is able to evade existing vaccine regime. But then they backtracked, saying that it is not as bad as it seems. It's in fact very good. So all these kind of mixed messaging has made most market participants uncertain about a potential round of pandemic, going higher. And also all around the country in the US, there is reports of high severity and more fatalities with COVID. So overall, there is a bit of a damper. And more recently, we had high inflation numbers emerge, which caused fear of faster tapering and more aggressive interest rates. And all of these above have led to the spike in the volatility index. And we all know, we always watch the VIX when we start our sessions. Whenever the VIX spikes up, it brings down all the indices. And that's exactly what happened. And at times like these, The market flees to safer defensive stocks, and sometimes the money goes to bonds and riskier stocks like those which are in cutting edge technology, which are non-revenue producing, and which are investing heavily in R&D in order to come up with a product which will bring money for them. Those kind of stocks fall out of favor, and CRISPR stocks are all in that category. And that's one of the reasons why most of the CRISPR stocks are having a tough time in the market, and they are at closer to all-time lows. So we should be philosophical about this, and we should understand the reality of the situation. And no amount of wishing is going to change this. The only thing that will change is either we get approval for a drug and that goes into production and distribution and the revenue gets started, or we have a situation where we find very categorically that Omicron is not any big deal, the existing vaccines can work, and that the vaccine uptake among the general population has gone up, and vaccine has been supplied to underdeveloped countries, and the future variants can be halted. So those kind of news would probably, make a dent and then get the market going upward. And what is happening for CRISPR stock is also happening for other leading edge stocks which are in the cutting edge of business, like robotics and battery technology and all that stuff. So this is not very unique to just CRISPR, it's the nature of the market. So for conclusions, so where does all this leave us, right? So firstly, I would say that avoid panic. No bad situation lasts forever. We have always seen historically, even if you look at the 5-year VIX chart, I always start my sessions with VIX goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. It happened all the way along, and it's going to continue happening in the future also. But one thing is always clear, VIX doesn't stay in the peak for too long. It always comes down. People psychologically adjust to all the situations, and we keep on adjusting, and we keep on evolving in our thought, we keep on evolving on our risk appetite, and new developments come into play, new catalysts come into play, and VIX always comes down. So this is not going to be a situation that will last forever. This is going to change. And when will it change? Anytime soon, but we don't know. Avoid FOMO, or fear of missing out. Okay, there will always be plenty of chances to buy your favorite share, right? Whenever we try to time the market and buy at the very bottom and sell at the very top, we end up making mistakes. Our aim should be to buy closer to the bottom and sell closer to the top. Never be too greedy. So in that context, I would say that if you feel that $74 is still risky, don't worry, keep waiting. It may go down. When it goes down, if you feel comfortable, then you can start doing a dollar cost averaging, right? So that you don't put all your eggs in one basket, at a time. So you can do dollar cost averaging, so that at the end of the day, when you have finished all your investment, you're investing one tranche at a time, a small portion of your target investment, and your average cost per share will go down, right? That's one strategy you can do. However, if the share went up, it will never go up on a straight line. There will always be dips and above, dip and above. And when you start seeing bull track, remember I used to draw two lines, a green line and a red line, between which the share moves, the channel. So when there's a bullish channel for CRISPR Therapeutics, you can feel very comfortable to get into it and start investing. And even there, you can do dollar cost averaging, so that in case the share price goes down momentarily, you can buy a little more and average down your price. I would say that invest only what will prevent you from having sleepless nights. Don't overextend yourself. And now coming back to another comparison that I use in my own mind to remind me how valuable CRISPR is. I look at the early days of Tesla, right? If at that time we knew what we know today, we would have bought loads of Tesla and never sold it, right? Today in this challenging market, I was looking at Tesla, it has remained about $1,000, more than $1,000. This is despite the tough environment in which all shares are operating. And on top of it, Elon Musk has been unloading his personal shares in huge quantities. And that unloading still continues, and still Tesla is able to maintain itself above the $1,000 mark. So why did that happen? Because Tesla pioneered the electronic vehicle market. They did the research and development, they got the necessary approvals, they registered the patents, and they brought the car into the road. They convinced people to buy it. They marketed it effectively, and today we have a vibrant Tesla, which has got a solid share price, which is resilient to the highly volatile market that we are in today. Now, the Tesla's promise was a car, environmentally friendly car, but when you look at the promise of CRISPR, it is life itself. CRISPR is going to root out disease through the root cause. In other words, CRISPR is going to be a gift of life. It's going to cure a lot of genetic diseases using in vitro and other technologies, other methods. And that kind of product and service is going to be valued by humanity at the highest level, even way more than cars. So having said that, a lot of patience is needed to be in this market as an investor. And I personally, whenever I think about Tesla and how things turned out, I think CRISPR is the future Tesla, albeit in the healthcare industry. And I'm pretty bullish about CRISPR. So stay patient, don't take undue risk, and that's what I would conclude this session with. As you can see, I'm starting to invest more in terms of technology in order to bring better videos. And I would really like your comments, because once you give me some comments, I know that I'm actually engaging with you and I can understand what you're looking for and make my videos more relevant. If I don't get any comments or likes and I have no feedback, so please put your comments, let me know what you're looking forward to in this channel, and please like, share and subscribe, and make sure that you press the bell icon so that whenever I publish a new video, you can get a notification and have a look at it immediately. Thanks and have a great day until next time, which will probably be Monday.